Going to events and festivals like this has become her job.
I forgot the tablecloth. This is for the Clover Valley booth for the Confluence Festival. We're going to be handing out flyers, selling t-shirts, selling buttons.
And Marilyn, do you know where that long banner is that usually you put across the top?
Yet for all the volunteers' work, their only reward is hope. Speaking to National Public Radio, Marilyn addresses where and why Clover Valley should be saved.
We're trying to save Clover Valley because it is the last pristine place in the foothills. If you can imagine 2 miles long, about a half a mile to a mile wide valley with a creek running down the center, the slopes are 300 feet high in elevation. I mean, it's got a sense of place that's like no other. It's actually it shows up very obviously on topographical maps because it's a mud flow. Even if it had just the creek, we would be concerned. If it had just the wetlands, we would be concerned. It's got wildlife. It's got the 33 prehistoric sites, historic rock walls, historic corral, scenic ridges. You put all this together in one little spot and it's compelling. We just feel we have to save it. On top of that, it is surrounded. Rockland on the south and a little bit on the west, Lincoln on the west, Bickford Ranch is at the north. You come on around to the town of Loomis. Loomis is more slow growth, but nevertheless there are houses coming to Loomis. So it's this, as I say, oasis in the middle of this sprawl.
Clover Valley is privately held. Several development partners plan to develop this land by 2007. Population growth and development over the past century provide an excellent context as to why Clover Valley is truly last of its kind. In 1900, perhaps a few hundred people lived near Rockland's Whitney Ranch. 60 years later, less than 60,000 people lived in all of Placer County. By 1970, that number had reached a little over 75,000, but things were about to change. By 1990, nearly 100,000 more people had spilled into Placer County, and by 2000, the population had reached 250,000. The real whopper? In the next 4 years alone, an additional 60,000 people made Placer County their home. In the last decade, southwestern city growth rates have been astounding. Rockland nearly doubles. Roseville reaches nearly 80%. This is far above the regional and statewide growth rate. In the last 5 years, Lincoln's population has grown 200%. The amount and the rate of development has been equally shocking. Roseville in 1987 had a fairly small urban footprint as indicated by the purple color on the map. But watch the phenomenal growth by 2004. Roseville explodes to the west. Specific plans shown outside the purple areas, cities within cities, pave the way for thousands upon thousands of houses to be built. Development today is surging ahead. Plaza Vineyards in the southwest corner is proposing upwards of 20,000 units. That translates to 50,000 more people. Plaza Ranch, adjacent to the landfill, is proposing 6,700 dwelling units. Bickford Ranch is now being developed. Given the exceptional views and the unfragmented oak woodlands, this should have been preserved as a regional park. 10,000 oak trees were cut down to build nearly 2,000 houses. And the march of development goes on, chewing up pristine grasslands and open space. A 1992 aerial photograph shows Clover Valley, outlined in green with virtually no development west of the valley. Yet just 10 years later, watch as houses seem to sprout overnight. At Trailer Ranch in Loomis, Joe Medeiros, Sierra College professor of biology and interdisciplinary, and fellow educator Dwayne Wilson discussed the value of local natural areas.
When you have a state that has 36 million people and counting.
Joe and Dwayne also discuss how few natural areas are actually public land in and around Rockland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at this. 90 acres here is pretty good size, but it's just a small chunk of what we really need. Up on the ridge over there is, of course, Bickford Ranch, and then Clover Valley down below. Since we've been out here, we've seen turkeys. I'm hearing a pheasant in the background. I've seen so many different finches and hawks and woodpeckers. This place is biologically rich. We've got 3 different species of oaks just as we're walking along in here. It's an absolutely wonderful place. Like out here in the oaks and everything, you have all of these processes going on, and I don't think people really really understand processes, photosynthesis, respiration, things that are so valuable, so incredibly valuable to us, but we just we take them for granted. They're silent, but they're life, and.
Given the how hectic life is with both parents working, it's very difficult for a family to get their kids into nature, especially if they have to drive long distances. I think what's really needed is local areas where the kids can go and with easy access and still have a lot of opportunity to see all these interactions.
Right.
Well, this in itself is a wonderful nature area. It's very open, and you see around you, you see civilization. One of the unique things about Clover Valley is that it's an enclosed area with steep side hills, and yet in a very small area, 600 acres, there are 5 distinct ecosystems interacting. You have the riparian corridor, the grasslands, oak woodlands, wetlands, and seasonal wetlands. And students could see that, young people could see that, and see the interaction and see how the animals vary from one area to the other in just this small space.
No, those are actually white-tailed kites, and the one behind is a juvenile, kind of bothering the mom, looking for a little bit of food. And there's some goldfinches right there,